Happy Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into another week of Morning JOX here with Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day right here on JOX. We couldn't do it without all of you fine folks out there. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend, and I'll just say waking up this morning feels a little bit like fall outside.
It does.
Or at least closer, a heck of a lot closer than it has for the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I guess the biggest question, Conrad, your health, the way that you left Friday of last week,
it wasn't
and
great.
the way that you are this morning, it's like night and day, brother. You feeling pretty good?
Yes, I feel much better now. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone that checked in on me over the weekend. I had some people text me, send me messages on social media, making sure that I was okay. So yeah, no, I'm fine. As I told Damian this morning, by about lunchtime on Saturday, I was good. So
Gotcha.
It was a rough road it was about 24 hours, I would say, of not doing great. But yeah, no, I'm all good. If you are listening, you have no idea what we're talking about. If you've ever seen the hot chip, one chip challenge videos that were going, I guess they kind of went viral a few years ago. Landrum actually managed to, he somehow had one of those chips still sealed that they had never used. And so I attempted to do that on Friday, and it was painful because as Damian said, I spent about the last 45 minutes of the show on Friday lying on the floor in one of our offices. So it was not great, and that night was not particularly fun for me either, but I hope everyone got some entertainment out of it, and yeah, we're doing a lot better now. So we're all good. We're all good.
Did you have have you had like your reflective moment of kind of like, would you do that again?
No. It was actually very painful, and I would not recommend anybody that does that because it hurt. My initial fear was I was just worried about how hot it was going to be, and that was going to be the worst part of it. That is not the worst part of it.
Right.
That is not the worst part of it.
It's the after effects.
Yeah, well, and it also didn't help that in order to cool my mouth off, I ate an entire pint of ice cream in, about 5 minutes. So that didn't help.
Upset stomach.
Yeah. So it was a rough night Friday, rough morning on Saturday, but after that we were like a new man, Damian. So we are all good. I appreciate you checking in on me. But yes, everything is all good there, and everything should be all good because we are getting closer and closer to college football season. So this is just your friendly reminder that you are now 19 days away from week 0, where you're going to get to see the likes of Kansas State playing in Dublin, Ireland. You're also 25 days away from Auburn versus Baylor, that Friday night kickoff for the Auburn Tigers, and then 26 days away from Alabama, Florida State down there in Tallahassee, which is where Auburn and Alabama, that is how those two teams will kick off their 2025 season. But, of course, we've got fall camp underway, and we got to hear from really an assortment of characters for both programs this weekend. So on the Auburn front, you got to hear from Hugh Freeze, you got a little bit from Jackson Arnold, you got a little bit from Keldrick Falk. From Alabama, you got Kalen DeBoer, but you also got to hear from Kane Womack over the weekend as well, the first time that you've been able to hear from him. And so that's how we're going to spend a lot of today is I know a lot of you follow this stuff online. What questions, what are you hearing around Alabama and Auburn fall camps, things that either you want to highlight or questions that you want us to try to answer for you. And we're just going to let you hear what's going on in both Auburn and Alabama as we get into week 2 now of fall camp. You're going to have scrimmages coming up this next weekend. And as we know, that's really when things start to get interesting and some of the things that, again, we talked about a little bit at the end of the last week, right? Like, with Alabama, do we really think that's a deep quarterback battle, or is it more of a someone's job to lose type situation? Similarly, for Auburn, I think maybe you would look at, some of the linebackers, maybe guys on the defensive front 7, what are those roles starting to look like? What is the buzz that you're going to hear from that? And of course, we want to hear about the quarterbacks there too, but I think we all know that one was settled quite some time ago. So there's a lot to still get to. And so we'll start on the plains of Auburn, actually, with what is going on in their fall camp. So we got to hear from Hugh Freeze over the weekend. And we'll just start off. He just kind of offered up an assessment of what we're looking at from practice. So now that they've gotten, I believe it's 4 practices in the book, this is Hugh Freeze with just his general assessment of everything.
Yeah, I thought it was really good work, and the humidity was up. I mean, it tested us for sure, and thought legs looked a little heavy, but that's to be expected probably in day 4. They've lost so much fluid in the first few days with the humidity and heat, but I thought they pushed through it, and obviously without watching the film, it's hard to say, but it looked like there was quite a bit of explosive plays on offense at times and quite a few negative plays that the defense caused. So watch the film and see, but I really thought it was really good work from the start to finish. I thought the specialist field goal unit was obviously didn't have a rush, but they were going through the upright with all the kickers, and I think we only missed 1 all day. And good work for the special teams also, so good day.
So there you go. That's Hugh Freeze, his recap over the weekend of just what he saw out there on the practice field. Only 1 missed field goal, Damian. I know you seemed to perk up when he was mentioning the special teams.
Yeah, it was just, nice observation. After, listen, and the thing is, your fan base wants to hear that, okay, can we get that 1 miss to 0 misses? Because we've seen how the order of operations looked towards the end of last year and in some key moments last year. So, but the fact they're putting it through the uprights and you only got 1 miss out of all the kicks that you had, okay.
It's just funny because, a lot of people are really a great special teams, but I mean, that is important for Auburn. It is actually something that you are glad to hear that is going to hopefully be much improved from last year because, yeah, it was rough, to say the least, last year. All right, how about the running back room? Because as we know, we told you kind of going into fall camp, some of the guys, Jeremiah Cobb was a little banged up. I think his was the finger issue, and then Darrell Robinson had a little bit of a toe thing going on that was holding them back a little bit. But this is Hugh Freeze. Still some guys banged up in that running back room, but what he's seeing from that group and their health status as they get closer to that Baylor game.
Damari is just dealing with a little heel bruise. I think he'll be fine and ready to go. Jeremiah, I expect him to be. They did not have to do surgery on it, which is a blessing. Don't need to get that thing hit right now. So we obviously believe in those 2. But I think, man, the other guys are showing up too. Darrell had some explosive runs. Alvin, there's still a learning curve for him for sure. But I tell you, the one that's flashing is Omar. He is that pad level he has, and he's patient, and he's going to finish moving forward, it seems, in the reps we have. We haven't gone live yet, but we're in thud, and they're thudding him pretty good, and he's finishing runs. So I would say he's been the most surprising. So our confidence level is growing with all those that whole group.
Yeah, so the guys that you were expecting to be at the front of the line looks like they're going to be okay for the start of the year, but there's your standout player. If you're looking for that impact freshman, it appears to be Omar Mabson, who's really been turning heads at practice. And again, he's a local kid. He went to Auburn High School. He's a 3-star recruit, and it's just kind of, again, you never know how these things are going to develop, right? But going in, you would have thought, man, if there's a freshman running back, it'd probably be Alvin Henderson, right? That's going to really start to turn those heads. Another kid from here in the state of Alabama, but now you have Omar Mabson from Auburn, who seems to be getting a lot of good reps early on and really, really impressing the coaching staff. So, hey, it doesn't hurt to and somebody's texting in, says he's 17 years old. All right, cool. So we're going to do the Ryan Williams thing with him. He's only 17 years old. Even I got tired of that as an Alabama fan, so I hope for Auburn fans' sake, I hope you don't have to deal with that on broadcast this year. But, hey, good to have a young guy that looks the part.
And listen, the best thing you can have in this day and age in college football is depth. And if you got a freshman that's coming in the first week of camp, like, okay, we'll see. And, I mean, for the guys that are ahead of him that may be dealing with some nagging injuries, I mean, you got to look at it from this point of view of, I just got here. This may be the only shot I have for the rest of the year. By God, you're going to get the best of it. And Hugh Freeze even said, like, yeah, they're thudding him, but it's like, oh, like, okay, he must really be toting that thing. That's it, and that's the thing that you have to you got to look forward to. You got to look forward to of the fact that, okay, we're gaining some depth, got some young guys, some key pieces. that could, possibly when if Jeremiah Cobb, goes down or needs a break or need a breather, or one of those guys, it doesn't drop the quality of the running back room. It's a guy that you can truly depend on to go out there because, again, you look at the receiver room and how deep that they are. You got to look at it and say, hey, there's only one ball. But by God, if we have so many other pieces, it doesn't matter who gets it as long as we're, we're going down the field. So I think that, shout out to Obar Mapson, man, to turn their heads the first week of camp. Interested to see, man. And when you get the lights on you in your first scrimmage, you might get you some burn, man. Just keep trucking.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's certainly a player to keep your eye on and keep in mind for this upcoming season there for the Auburn Tigers. How about on the other side of the ball, though? Because we talked a lot. We even talked this morning about the front seven and that being somewhere that Auburn needs to see some guys continue to step up. We know they got a lot of young talent, especially on the defensive line. And what has Hugh Freeze seen from those young guys on the defensive line so far?
The young guys, obviously, we all know about Keldrick and Keyron and some of those. But, I mean, Malik Blockton was just a freshman. But, man, he's disruptive. And I think these two young ones, Autry's getting better and better. Crawford's getting better. Bobby, obviously, has a deal with his daughter. He's missed, but he's back now. And I think there's some disruptive guys that can help us. We've got to give them the buy-in to their role. And, the days of a D lineman, interior D lineman playing 60 snaps a game just shouldn't happen. And we've got to get them to buy in to like the Jay Hardys and those guys that came in, Dallas Walker and Darion and Z's had a good camp so far. So I know I'm leaving some people out, but man, I think all those guys, James Ash, once he learns what to do, he is heavy-handed. So I like the depth in there, just buy into giving us fanatical effort on your given plays.
And that's what you want to hear, right, is that they're being disruptive. They're up there, and you got to hear we don't have the clip here, but Keldrick Falk kind of talking a little bit about just how he's seen these guys that, they came in and they had all the raw talent in the world, but they didn't know what to do with it. And now that they know what to do with it, it's kind of been a night and day difference there. So it seems like there's some good development going on the defensive front, which is exactly what you want to see if you are an Auburn fan. How about we wrap up with the quarterback? Not a man of many words, but short and sweet and straight to the point. This is Jackson Arnold. He was asked kind of what's something that him specifically, as well as the offense as a whole, can continue to get better at throughout fall camp.
I think for us on our offense, I think our timing routes is something I could have improved on in the spring, and whether that's intermediate game, quick game, even deep routes, just working on my timing and kind of getting my feet in the ground ready to rip the ball.
So there you go. Timing routes with the receivers, as you would expect, right? Chemistry, making sure you're on time and you're just kind of one mind when you're out there operating on the football field. So things like good updates there from Auburn as we continue to dive into week 2 of fall camp. Of course, scrimmages is going to be coming up over the weekend, and that's where you really get some good intel. But all things seem to be, again, it's fall camp. You're not going to hear anything crazy, but this is what the kind of stuff that you want to be hearing. So that's what's going on the plains of Auburn this weekend. We also had week 2 getting underway there in Tuscaloosa for the Crimson Tide. Got to hear from Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack over the weekend. What are their assessments of the Tide after the first 4 practices? We'll tell you everything you need to know next on Morning JOX.
Still my heart.
6:18. Welcome back into Morning JOX here on your Monday morning. A little chilly outside, at least all things considered, right? When it's under 70 degrees, that's chilly this time of year. So hopefully nice and refreshing for many of you this morning as we are filling you in on everything you may have missed on the practice field for both Auburn and Alabama. So we just let you hear from Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold a little bit, some of their assessments through week 1 of Auburn practice, and we'll get to Alabama here in just a second. But this text right here, this is what makes not only college football in general, but doing college football and doing a college football show in Birmingham, Alabama. This is the kind of stuff that's great, right? All right, we come in on a Monday morning. We've got to recap what happened at fall camp. There's some good stuff going on. We open it up talking about Auburn, and we have our one of our resident Alabama fans, Jamie, who chimes in. And I love this text because it just shows you how different it is here. You don't get this other places. But Jamie chimes in, hey, good morning, guys. I'm sorry to say this. I'm an Alabama fan, but Hugh Freeze sounds like he's so full of crap. He always just sounds like a used car salesman. He's never going to make it at Auburn University. He's not a good football coach. I keep saying it, but if he's down at Auburn in 2027, I will be shocked. Like, just wakes up, and that's the first thing on his mind.
It's 6:13.
The first thing on his mind is, I can't stand that guy, Hugh Freeze. But that's what makes not only the Alabama-Auburn rivalry, but just college football in this part of the country. It's different, man. It is different, and we appreciate all of you that text in and are a part of the show each and every day. But, again, that just it's different.
It is. You wake up and choose violence. At 6:30, he sent that text message at 6:13 a.m. Like he woke up, stretched out, and as soon as he heard Hugh Freeze's voice, like, man, you know what? I can't stand that guy.
Opened the door, felt the breeze, and said, "It's football season, man. I'm angry at somebody,
Right.
and it's Hugh Freeze,
and it's crazy.
I love it.
Like, and all Coach Freeze is doing is just talking about camp. Like, he's just like, hey, I like what we're seeing. Got a couple young bucks showing some girth, like some length and some girth, and they're having a good time. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you know, I can't stand this dude. I'm a big fan of, but that's what makes the sport of football so fun because people are so passionate about it. And again, like, we're getting countless examples. Like, you have Auburn fans that are texting like, okay, like, yeah, man, I'm glad to hear that. And again, we ain't even got to the first scrimmage. These kids are just now putting on shells. Like, they're just now starting to, you know, learn the installs. Like, it's starting to make sense and applying all this stuff. And then we got fans like, you know what? I do not care. I don't care what positivity is coming out of the eastern side of this state. But by God, I can't stand their head coach. Like, you know what? I am here for the haterade. No. Anytime you got it, just, feel free. Feel free.
It's awesome. And again, like, it feels like a little bit of that has come back that we've kind of missed the last couple of years. Because you feel Auburn fans feel good about themselves, maybe, or they feel the best about their team going into a year than they have in at least 5 years. And then for Alabama fans, like, you know, you got a lot of people that are starting to buy in to Ty Simpson and Kalen DeBoer, and maybe we are, maybe this is a team that can make it back to the playoff this year. So it's fun to be a part of all this. And again, we really do appreciate each and every one of you for chiming in, whether you hate the other team, you love everybody, all you do is criticize, whatever. Like, we're here for it. So we appreciate all of you that chime in on the text line at 205-834-9450. But let's hear from Alabama Fall Camp. Kalen DeBoer, his post-practice assessment. This is him over the weekend after Alabama's fourth practice of fall camp.
Good practice number 4, the last 2, obviously with pads and longer practices, just, challenging the guys' competitive stamina, the physical, the mental piece of it, and really like how they were able to sustain the energy, sustain the effort and attitude, right? Just bringing juice, focusing on the next play, all those things that are cliches that are so important to success on the football field. And so that was the challenge from a big picture from January when the guys brought high-level intensity, and you narrow it down to each practice and even each period and each play. And so start to finish, high expectations, and these guys doing a good job picking each other up. Every play there's going to be a winner and loser. And so that side of the ball's, got to keep the pedal down when you win, and the other side's got to react and respond the next one. So, like what I see.
There you go. Coach DeBoer likes what he sees through 4 practices there for Alabama this fall. Well, the question, everybody, we know this is what everybody came for, right? It is Kalen DeBoer and his assessment of all 3 quarterbacks after the first week of fall camp.
Practice 1 was good. 2, the installs become more and different things, and a lot of it's still base stuff for the most part that these guys have worked on. There was a couple just missed opportunities really between receivers or skill guys and the quarterbacks. And I thought the last 2 practices, those near misses have now been, completions. And so that's what you like to see, where the plays are getting made. The plays are getting drawn up, and there's execution on a high level somewhere. And either you miss the throw, or sometimes it's maybe there's an offensive line, breakdown of some type or someone just a little closer and causing a little bit of distraction for the quarterback. But the last 2 days have really been better, and that's what you want to see.
There you go. There's Kalen DeBoer on the quarterbacks. And as we heard last week, as they kind of kicked things off after the first day, it was about, hitting the gimmies. And that was something that he was satisfied with. And those plays that you have to have essentially, those plays were being completed. And now you hear from him again, as they progressed into the last couple of days over the weekend, it felt like some of those plays that maybe were just a hair off early on, those are now turning into completions, and that's what fall camp's about, right? Those are the steps that you want to see where it might look at first like, all right, everybody has an understanding of what to do, but the timing, kind of goes back to what Jackson Arnold was even saying of just this timing routes and that being, the area where he sees the most progression left. I think for Alabama, it's probably the same thing, right? As you had the spring, you've had summer, and we know these guys go and get working with each other during the summer and all those good things. But, that's what it's going to be is the chemistry, the timing, and that's all the stuff that can make a big difference. It seems like that is coming along nicely there for the Crimson Tide. Now, how about Kane Womack? Let's hear from Alabama's defensive coordinator. So he's talking a little bit, and something we've talked about is the depth of this defense, right? Especially in the secondary, you feel really, really, really good about what you got there. You have 8 of the 11 starters coming back from last year, as well as a lot of young talent. So this is Kane Womack talking about the depth of this year's defense.
We've got positions where, I think we have multiple starters, for maybe one position or guys that we will rotate consistently. I don't know if I could put a number on it right now, but, a year ago, going into the Tennessee game when we had 5 guys that went down, we only played 6 guys for 5 positions primarily when it mattered, and I think we could play significantly more than that.
Well, there you go. There's the defensive coordinator talking about the depth on this year's team and having some positions where you have multiple guys that can start. And that's something that you definitely don't see very often in this day and age of college football, because we know a lot of times, those guys are the people that are hitting the transfer portal and taking an opportunity somewhere else to get that immediate playing time. But Alabama should be in a pretty unique position this year with your LT Overtons, your Deontay Lawsons, those type of guys that – probably could have gone to the NFL. Deontay Lawson, if he didn't get hurt, LT Overton would have been probably a second-round pick. But both guys deciding to come back. Keon Sabb, he got banged up. Maybe another guy, Damani Jackson. All guys that, potentially could have gone to that next level, but saw the value in coming back. And, again, if you're an Alabama fan, I think it's crazy to say this with Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer and all that, but I think the defense is what you have the least amount of question marks about and probably what you should be the most confident in going into the year. All right, well, the final cut that we'll hear from fall camp, how about Kane Womack talking about that week 1 matchup against Florida State and going up against somebody that he's quite familiar with in Gus Malzahn?
When you're preparing for an offensive coordinator that just took over a job, maybe a new quarterback, some new personnel things, you try to gather a whole picture, right? What did the quarterback do at his previous institution, right? And how was he used maybe under this staff or that staff, or, I've known Gus since I was in the 8th grade. I played for him, and his the evolution of his offense and the things that he's done. What might he do based off of this personnel? And so, when you're looking at all those things, right, you're trying to kind of gauge what you anticipate they're going to be. And then at the same time, that you've got to have answers if they kind of go down this pathway or they go down that pathway. And so, naturally you're going to carry a pretty heavy catalog of defense, going into a game.
So there you go. Yeah, it was pretty interesting hearing him talk. He talked a little more at length at one point about Gus Malzahn and how so when he was in high school, he played Gus Malzahn. So when Gus Malzahn was coaching high school, Kane Womack was a high school player, and he faced off against Gus Malzahn. Apparently, Gus's dad and Kane's dad are buddies. And on top of that, when he played at Arkansas, Gus Malzahn was his offensive coordinator. And then now, obviously, as they've continued coaching, they've gotten to face off and have been continued to play against each other. So kind of a cool dynamic there with somebody that we all know very well here in the state of Alabama, and Gus Malzahn, and just kind of that dynamic going up against Kane Womack. It's going to be fun to watch.
Right. That kind of adds a little bit, too, if Tommy Castellanos, I wonder if he knew that, like to know that you kind of ran your mouth a little bit.
Like Gus is out there. Hey, Tommy, why don't you go make a video? Why don't you go say something?
Right. And it's like, Coach, you didn't tell me that. The defensive coordinator, y'all got some history. Like, okay, might have bit off a little bit more than I can chew. But also, if you're Coach Womack, it's like, okay, I kind of know. But I enjoy like I guess you would say the scientific part of it. Of okay, like we have a relationship, we have a connection. I know what he likes. I kind of like trying to put it all together. And now, everything that we've known for Gus Malzahn to be, we know you're going to get a heavy dose of buck sweep, and you got a quarterback that is, dynamic. And now with the RPO game tagged on to it, I'm kind of interested to see what Florida State's plan is going to be offensively. Like, what are they going to attack? Because we've seen in years past, like, okay, so if you go back, and I hate to bring this up, but the Oklahoma and the Vanderbilt loss as opposed to the Tennessee loss, because it wasn't like Nico was a guy that was just, burning people out, left and right as far as quarterback run. But what you saw with Jackson Arnold against an Alabama defense, what you saw with Diego Pavia, how much do you kind of not necessarily steal from those games, but how many tricks of the trade do you kind of look and say, okay, well, this is what they're going to do in third and medium, third and short. Okay, if we line up in this personnel, this package, what's he going to look like? What's it going to do? And I love the chess match. That's one of the fun things about week one that people don't really like. You kind of have a feeling of what you expect a team is going to look like. And then on the first snap, you've practiced something all week long up until that point, and then all of a sudden they come out and, they're used to, going to like a four-man front. Then they open the game up in a three-man front. And you're kind of looking like, okay, well, this wasn't what I expected.
I was about to say everything we looked at, that goes out the window now.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what these week one matchups look like, but also with Kane Womack, for somebody that's had history with Gus Malzahn, it's all right, Cuz. I know if this receiver takes, half a step back on when he's off the line, I'm expecting a bubble. I'm expecting something. And, just those tendencies, those games within the games that you see play in and play out, I'm excited to see what this looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I will don't think this is a hot take, but I would expect a lot of runs and a lot of quick passes if I'm Kane Womack. I think you kind of know what you're going to be getting into with Gus, and probably at least 3 or 4 trick plays, or what we would consider trick plays, but Gus would consider normal plays. So going to be fun to see how that one plays out in Tallahassee for week one with Alabama and Florida State. But there's your recap. You got to hear from Hugh Freeze, Jackson Arnold, Kalen DeBoer, and Kane Womack as they kind of recap and assess week one of fall camps. And a lot of you chiming in, but we also have a couple news and notes from around the rest of the country. One of the better quarterbacks in the entire country back on the practice field as well this weekend. So we'll tell you who it was and get your reaction on Alabama and Auburn next on Morning JOX.
.636 here on JOX. Morning JOX, Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. Just breaking down what we've seen from fall camp, both Auburn and Alabama as they opened up last week. Got a chance to hear from the coaches as they get set for week one. But you also can celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at the Bill Smith Buick GMC JOX kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. To win a pair of tickets for you and a guest, text the keyword Tigers and your full name to 205-834-9450. The keyword Tigers and your full name, you text that in to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com.
And we can't wait to see you out there. Always one of our favorite times of year when we get to go and hang out with all of you and just talk some ball before the kickoff of everything. So that'll be 2 days before week 0. So that'll really be right there when we're getting ready for the actual football season kickoff. So look forward to seeing many of you coming up there at Regents Field in about 17 days will be the kickoff party. So, but as Damian said, we let you hear from the coaches, Alabama and Auburn, what's going on through the week or first week of fall camp there. For both of those programs. But we had some big news for another program here in the SEC over the weekend as Florida got quarterback DJ Lagway back on the field. So he practiced on Saturday for the first time this fall. He had been seen in a boot with he had a calf strain that he was dealing with. And of course, this follows his bigger shoulder injury that he had earlier this offseason that was prohibiting from throwing a football for a couple of months, as far as I understand. And so it's good to know that he's getting back on the field because, of course, this was, we all know how talented he can be, but to miss essentially all of the spring, be limited in the summer, and then be limited in fall camp, that's really not what you're looking for going into your sophomore season. Because even though he got a good experience last year, he's going to be familiar with a lot of the guys that are on the roster. All of these guys are getting reps with other quarterbacks. They're getting reps with other guys. And it's good to continue to build on that chemistry for DJ Lagway, especially if Florida is going to have the type of season that some people are expecting them to have. And he's going to reach the potential of, potentially being maybe one of the favorites to win SEC Offensive Player of the Year, maybe be in the Heisman conversation and all that good stuff. So that's certainly good news for Florida as they get their star quarterback back on the field. But let's go to the Courtesy GMC text line here as we'll try to get to some of your text reacting to everything from over the weekend, mainly involving Alabama and Auburn fall camp. Somebody chiming in, what is the kickoff question? Yes, it is Tigers. That was the question for our Jocks kickoff party. And we go to the text line where we have, let's see, Drake texting in. He says, my guy DJ Lagway looking good at camp, guys. Yeah, good to see him back on the field. Of course, that's what you want to see. We have a text coming in. It says, good morning, fellas. With Coach Hugh Freeze wanting his QBs to have confidence, how much do we buy into the, quote, explosive plays after he says no pass rush? Just wondering, guys. Love the show.
No, he was talking about the extra point. He was talking about the field goal. There was no rush.
Yeah.
No, they live now. Don't get it twisted. Them D linemen,
But they're taking it easy, right?
Here you go.
You were the one that got all fired up about it last week.
Listen,
not me.
No, if this is fall camp, man. They are.
You said it's the most embarrassing thing you've ever heard of.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Something like that.
No, but you got to watch out for the length and girth of that defensive line that Auburn has. So I can understand why they need to take it easy on them.
Got to protect you from that. That's
got
right.
to.
That's right. Someone texting in, they said, Conrad, would you do the one chip challenge again if it guaranteed Alabama a spot in the college football playoff? No, I would not. No, I would not.
Not going to happen.
Because A, I have enough confidence that the team can do that anyways, but B, the pain that I would experience from Alabama not making the playoff again would not compare to the pain that I experienced on Friday eating that chip. So that, that kind of emotional pain, like, yeah, would you guys give me a hard time, for a while about the season and Mr. Alabama fans disappointed again. Yeah, I get it. I'd have to eat some crow, and that is what it is. But the physical pain that I was in on Friday, like, I feel like I have a pretty good pain tolerance, and when something knocks me to the floor where I have to lay down for 45 minutes because my body is just hurting and burning all over, I would, whatever. We'll be looking for another football coach if that's the case, because I'm not eating the chip. Sorry. Not
doing it.
Not doing it. Don, he chimes in about Auburn fall camp. He says, good morning, guys. Our running back room is a little banged up, but it sounds like true freshman Omar Mabson and the transfer Roberson had a good day on Saturday. New name on the defensive line to watch is Darian Smith. He's another true freshman. Heard Blockton also had a good day on the defensive line. Yeah, that echoes what you heard from Hugh Freeze and him, praising a lot of those young defensive linemen. But also, if you missed it, Omar Mabson, the freshman running back from Auburn High School. That's the guy that's been turning heads, and with Jeremiah Cobb and Alston and Robinson, all these different guys, dealing with some injuries. He's the one that's been turning heads, and he's the one that I think you need to make sure that you remember for this upcoming season. So very, very cool to see there. Lewis chimes in. He says, with the King of the Hill reboot starting today, I didn't know that came out today. It says, is Damian and the other Tennessee fans concerned that maybe their head coach wasn't focused on football and cared more about his acting career? That's good.
It is. And also when you look at Bobby Hill in the reboot.
Does he look like him?
Yeah. I don't think Coach Hype is going to beat those allegations.
No, those are
it's very similar.
Oh, that's a good one right there. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is awesome right there, Lewis. So y'all keep the text rolling in 205-834-9899. 9450. That's on the Courtesy GMC text line. We got more of your text to get to, as well as not something on the football field, but another reason to be very, very proud to be an Auburn Tiger on this Monday. We'll tell you exactly why that is next on JOX. Welcome back into Morning JOX here. Appreciate you making us a part of your Monday morning and every morning here throughout the week. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you until 7 o'clock, when we will hand you off to McElroy and Kublick in the morning, where they will no doubt have more thoughts on Alabama and Auburn fall camp, everything that's going on there as we approach now week 2 of fall camp. And I know a number of programs kind of taking the day off yesterday because, I think Kalen DeBoer described it as 2 days on, 1 day off is kind of the way that they're doing things at Alabama. I think Auburn may be doing something similar there as well. And then coming up this weekend, I know you're going to start seeing scrimmages, and that's when things really get interesting and you get more of those takeaways because, I know guys are already, they're doing reps in practice, but that's when you really start to feel like, all right, and guys start to get antsy, right? I feel like around the time of the scrimmages, like people, you kind of want to go pop somebody at that point. Yeah. And so, yeah, they're not going to be holding back, I don't think. It even, what we've talked about with Hugh Freeze kind of, saying, hey, DJ, maybe take it easy on the quarterbacks or something. Some of those guys, I think it might be kind of hard to contain them because they're like, man, let me go.
Yeah,
just let me go.
Most of those guys play defense. Like a lot of those guys play defense. Where it's like,
well, yeah, because they want to hit somebody.
Yeah, and the receivers were kind of like, man, we got another go ball after 3 straight reps of okay, we got to be in shape. But also, it is very unique, and I think the older I get, the more I'm like, okay, I get it. You don't want to, go out there and put these kids, have it be heavy leg, but the off days earlier in camp, taking some getting used to. It's just kind of getting some used to because
I know different than how it used to be.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, man. Like we used to look forward whenever we checked in, got our itineraries for camp. You didn't usually have an off day until you may have an adjusted schedule after the scrimmage instead of it may stay on the schedule that you'll be in shells or something the next day, but he may tweak it and say we might just go in shorts the next for a day and a half. But like a mandated off day, like 4 days, 3 days into camp, it's like, whoa, boy. But it kind of raised the expectation level of you got an off day.
I was going to say, so you better be ready.
Yeah.
There's no excuses.
No excuses after that. But, yeah, the biggest thing is just want to protect these guys. And, it brings back so many memories. Every time, especially this over the weekend, it wasn't as hot. Like, it was still kind of hot on Saturday. But then yesterday you kind of have like a cooler day. And I just remember, like, man, if I would have gotten this on the first week of camp Sunday, there's no telling how good practice could have been. But yeah, those are things that you got to worry about. But also, just the health. As long as everybody's staying upright. But after that first scrimmage, I think the first scrimmage to me is always like, now it's nut cutting time. Now it's okay. We can see when the lights are on. You can always adjust and correct things on film. But you at least want to see what everybody looks like when the bullets are flying. Like now it's time to see because you're only getting closer and closer to game day, and we got to start trimming the fat. We got to start seeing, okay, this guy can really play. This one may not know exactly what to do every single snap, but he's giving good effort. So it's just kind of there's a lot of things you can learn through the process, but then once you get to that first scrimmage, everything starts to open up after that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it's going to be very interesting to see what those takeaways are. I guess about this time next week is when we'll really be diving into a lot of that and what you're seeing, like Damian said, with some live action and the guys that can show up. Because, as we know, right, there's a lot of guys that you can look great in practice, but when the lights come on, not so great. On the other hand, some guys that in practice maybe don't have the juice, but the second that you get into some live football, it's, you're a completely different player. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that goes on. But did tell you before the last break that if you are an Auburn Tiger, there's a big reason to take pride in that today. And it has nothing to do with the football field, but instead it has to do with the golf course. So how about the number one amateur in the world? That is Jackson Coyven, who is, about to start his junior year there at Auburn coming up this fall. But he was playing in the Wyndham Championship this weekend out in North Carolina. Finishes 14 under and tied for 5th place in a PGA Tour event. So that is just an absolutely incredible performance from him. He finished tied for 11th at the John Deere Classic earlier this year. He finished 6th in another tournament this summer as well. And he is actually elected to go back to Auburn for another year. He could have kind of started to get started with his PGA career, and that is certainly what his future holds for him. But coming back for another year for Auburn to see if they can compete and try to win a national championship there with that golf program. But just an incredible accomplishment by him. Again, he is the number 1 ranked amateur golfer in the entire world. And he plays right here for the Auburn Tigers. So big weekend for Jackson Coyven, 14 under this weekend at the Wyndham Championship, and a very, very bright future ahead for him on the PGA Tour once he wraps things up with his college career. So very cool. Wanted to give him a quick shout out, and Auburn fans absolutely enjoy that this year while he tries to lead y'all to a national championship on the golf course, because he is absolutely, absolutely incredible. And if you saw the putt that he finished out with for the entire tournament, it just incredible. And it's, incredibly frustrating for me, being somebody that's started to play golf a lot more this year, and I'm still so bad at it. And then you go and just watch kids like that, and some people are just different, man. There's a reason that we are here talking about sports and that they're out there actually doing it. So that was very, very, very cool to see over the weekend. But do want to get to a couple more of your texts here before we wrap things up for you on this Monday. Let's see. Chris chimes in. He says, what I've heard has stood out the most about Alabama so far is how physically intimidating they look, especially on the defensive line. And I've heard, going off of that, Chris, that not only just, I guess, the physical stature, but it's the conditioning and the shape that they are in that was immediately apparent to the people that have been there at practice. Just of they're not asking for a break. Essentially, they're going full steam ahead. And if you saw the video that's been going, kind of was going around from Florida State and their defensive line at practice, it looks a little bit different than that. I know it was early on. You saw the video too.
Yeah,
I know. I'm picking on them, but someone put it out there.
I know
and it doesn't look great. So.
It just, everybody messes up on a rep every now and then. It just so happens that the film was on. It's like, oh, not what you want to see on the sled, dog.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely not. But we know it's not going to be like that on August 30th. Well, I hope it is, but it's not. But it would be pretty funny if it was. Alan chimes in. He says, one thing I wonder is what Kalen thinks of the media coverage he gets here. In year 2, he just seems more comfortable. Maybe last year surprised him a little bit. Yeah, and we said that at media days, right? He just sounded like he was more comfortable. Let's see. Someone chimes in and says, does Auburn-Baylor count as week 0 technically? I'd say it's week 1.
Oh, that's week 1. That's week 1.
Yeah. It is the beginning of week 1, the official beginning of week 1. So I can't get here soon enough, but appreciate all of you chiming in this morning. We're back tomorrow at 6 a.m., but right now it's McElroy and Kubelik in the morning.